For over 10 years, Grammarly has been powered by AI technology that you can trust. With one click, you and your team can brainstorm, rewrite, and reply with personalized suggestions. Go to Grammarly.com/business teams to download for free.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing to keep the Grinch away from the toy drive.
Who's going to deliver the toys to the kids?
What about me, the Grinch?
No.
Yep, even easier than that.
You steal the presents one time.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Capital One NA, member FDIC. Copyright Dr. Seuss Enterprises. Copyright Turner Entertainment Company.
You made it. Checked out of office to check into the sweet views of this place where the kids aren't asking for the Wi-Fi.
Mom, can we go to the pool?
And when you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it.
Hey, it's Christine from Storyworthy. Today on the show, author Amber Tozer talks about volunteering at a school.
Their hair's messed up, there's like stains on their pants, their shoes are untied. They're just this ragtag group of high school boys. So they're being really disruptive, so Nick takes them outside. So I run outside, and Nick's like, Tyler ran away. We have no idea where he is. And then he's like, so I sent 2 other kids to go find him. I'm like, what? Nick? Now 3 kids are missing?
Today on the show, author Amber Tozer talks about her life in England and volunteering at a school. Stay close.
Hey, this is Amber Tozer, and you're listening to Storyworthy.
Welcome to Storyworthy. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show or a new listener, welcome to Storyworthy. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the show last week with comedian. He's not really a comedian, he's more of a writer and actually a speech. He teaches people how to tell speeches. Anyway, great guy. His name's Chris Corbell, and he talked about how he became an artist. And I think really what he was talking about is how he gave himself permission to be an artist. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful.
Because a lot of people, you know, they're creative, but they don't know how to make that into like a life. You know what I mean? Because you have to accept you're going to be poor. That's the first thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you guys, go back, listen to Chris Corbell, but not today, because today I'm here with a great friend, an old friend, not old, but a friend I've known for at least 15 years, I'd say.
Yep.
But I haven't seen her in so long because she now lives across the pond, as it were, in England. Amber Tozer's here, you guys. And Amber has been on the show before. Amber, you talked about the coyote story, right?
Yeah, the coyote story. And I think, did I tell the mattress story, how I sold mattresses? Yeah, I've done
you did
2.
2 stories.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so in one sentence each, tell me what I remember, but tell the audience.
I ran a black market mattress business on Craigslist. And then while I was dog sitting, it got attacked by a coyote. But it survived.
Yeah, you got, wait, say that last one again.
While I was pet sitting a dog, the dog got attacked by a coyote and it survived.
You saw that happen as well, right?
Yeah.
I remember that story so well because then you just were so scared, obviously, because you saw the coyote come into the yard, take the dog, jump across the fence.
Yeah. Oh my God, you have a good memory. Yes.
And then you were like freaking out and you don't drink alcohol anymore, but you went to the alcohol cabinet and you're like ready to just drink.
Yeah, I was ready to relapse.
What are you going to tell
exactly
those homeowners when they come home and they say, how's the dog? And you say, well, in fact, he's got eaten by a coyote. And tell everybody what...
And I trashed your house.
Yeah,
so
tell everybody what... Yeah, I relapsed. And tell everybody what the upshot of that story is.
Well, yeah, the dog came back. I was getting ready to take a drink, and I was like, oh, everyone's going to understand this relapse. You know, the dog I was watching just was kidnapped and murdered by a coyote. So I'm there and, right before I dive into the booze cabinet, the dog runs back into the yard. And it was a tiny little Bichon poodle-esque dog, and totally fine. Took it to the vet, totally fine. And I didn't tell the owners till they came back. And
That is such a crazy story.
they gave me an extra $100.
That's good. They
Yeah,
should have.
yeah.
I mean, no kidding. I mean, that's it's like a rat to a coyote. It's so small.
I have no idea how it survived. I think it played dead, and then the coyote sort of maybe might have had to negotiate a fence or a tough terrain, and that's when Latte escaped because it played dead.
Latte. I think playing dead would be the most nerve-wracking, hardest thing to do. Like in any sense, like whether you're playing like dead because you're, in a battle with a bear.
Right.
Or like even if you're being raped.
Right.
I don't mean
oh my
to say-
God. This got dark.
I don't mean to take it downtown, but like to pretend you're asleep is not easy.
No. I would do it in a shooting. I would pretend I was dead. Like
There
if
you go. On the bank floor. Like, okay, so they come in, shoot up a bank. Are you going to play dead
Yes.
or are you running for the back door?
One of the two. I'm not a hero. I'm gonna play dead or run.
Yeah. You know what I would do is I'd like crawl over on my belly like a snake to the shooter and I'd like tie his shoelaces together. And then when he tries to escape, he'd be like, womp womp.
You're like, perfect time for a joke.
Anyway, I'm super happy you're here, Amber. This is really a treat. And today you bring forth the topic volunteering at school.
Edgy.
Well, no, the thing that's funny about this topic is like, I volunteer. Well, I have to admit, now my daughter's in 7th grade. And as you get older, as the kids get older, I mean, yeah, sure, I'm the room parent.
Yeah.
That's a given. But I don't do the bake sale anymore. I don't do, as much as I used to. Because at one point, it was as if I was an employee at the school.
Right.
But not making any money.
I think as you get older, you don't care if people like you. Do you know what I mean? You don't care. You're like, oh, I don't care if you don't think I'm good for not baking cookies.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of it, though, is associated with my child in terms of I want to be around, seeing what she's up to, keeping a third eye on things. And I have just the one child, which was very planned. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To have just the one.
Right.
Because I am interested as the days go by. Now, I don't care about 4 and 5-year-olds anymore.
Right.
I'm at 13. But,
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I do try. So the one way to do that is, of course, to be involved and to volunteer.
Yeah.
So I do it a lot. But I will say that, first of all, the teachers are 20 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. So, they don't call me ma'am, but they practically do.
Right.
But it's fun to see how things are done, and I'm very open-minded. So I try to just kind of be a fly on the wall when I volunteer at my kid's school.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so much that you can... You got to let the teachers take the lead. That's what I
I'm
find.
not trained.
It's... Yeah, and... when I volunteer, I don't want to be super responsible for anything. I just sort of want to do what I'm told and help out.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I just want to be a body, and that's what I'm giving to you, just being flexible right now.
Yes.
That being said, one of our teachers, last week, I'm, chaperoning a field trip, as I do, which was really just walking to the park, and then they screwed around, and then we walked back. But anyway, they quickly forget that an adult is present. Do you know what I mean? The kids, and they act like themselves, which is good, and everybody does. And anyway, so in one of my earbuds, I have the impeachment hearings going on.
Fun stuff.
Well, I'm addicted to it. I just am. And I want to talk to you about that because you're living in England. I'm anxious to hear what they think of us, although I think I know. Anyway, so I'm listening to the impeachment hearings, and I'm talking to the teacher, and I say. She says, what are you listening to? And I said, the impeachment hearings, I just can't even believe it. And she's like, I just don't follow politics. I just don't follow it at all. And I'm thinking, please don't tell me you teach history.
Does she teach history?
No, she teaches math.
Okay.
But still, it's like, oh my God. You don't follow politics at all? Shouldn't you have to know that a little bit?
Well, especially now, you got to sort of be tapped in. I think 10 years ago, you could get away with everything's fine. It's not the right way to be, but I think,
Well, at this point, they could just do an impeachment watch, talk about it for 10 minutes every 3 or 4 days, or I don't know.
Yeah, history is being made. They just think
no
we're nuts.
kidding.
I mean, to talk about what they think of us
Yeah.
in England, they think we're absolutely bonkers, but I think they like watching us like a train wreck, you know? But I mean, I think the thing that baffles them the most about America in general, besides the crazy impeachment and besides that Trump's president in the first place, is gun violence and healthcare.
Yeah.
They just cannot wrap their head around that anybody can have a gun and that we all could potentially go dead because of a trip to the hospital. They just are like,
Oh, yeah. That we could potentially go into debt.
oh yeah, because
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
healthcare is free. I mean, they pay more taxes over there, but healthcare is essentially free.
Have you had to have healthcare, any like needs over there since you've been there?
Yeah, well, I've had just a couple of GP appointments, but I had to go to the dermatologist. Everything was free. I didn't pay a dime.
And
but my husband
everybody-
pays loads of taxes, so it's weird saying it's quote unquote free, but
Well, it's the system.
But if I got cancer or if I was in a horrible accident and I needed surgery, I wouldn't pay a dime.
I think people would be healthier in general knowing that they don't have to, be so scared.
Or like perform minor surgeries on themselves.
Yeah, or be stressed out or just not get anything
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
People just don't even go to the doctors because
Right.
they can't afford it or they don't want to.
Yeah.
That's a big difference, for sure. But, like in terms of them thinking we're crazy about our government, I mean, what's going on
with Brexit and-
Meghan and Harry?
Oh.
No, I mean the fixation on those people
I
is
think
so wild.
I think Americans are more fixated.
Really?
Yeah, than the royals. I think English people, it's not that they don't care. I think they respect the Queen, but they're not so obsessed with it.
But what about the tabloids? Because the tabloids are like, they come out so frequently and
Oh,
it's all
yeah.
the same. So who's buying those?
I don't know. I don't know. But it's funny because it's not, I feel like here it's more of a daily conversation. Over there, people aren't bringing it up at dinner. Do you know what over here? There, maybe it's because I live in England and they want to ask me about it. But over there, people aren't talking about it at the dinner
Yeah.
table. I don't know who's buying the tabloids.
Megan went to school right up here, like a mile
That's
away.
what I hear.
Yeah, like right over there at the Immaculate Heart.
Yeah.
And now they have her picture up, of course, in the school in a big gown. So funny. It's the craziest thing. And I think her dad lives in this neighborhood too, her real father.
Oh, really?
Who's like, apparently crazy and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because it's like, I'll make fun of somebody, not fun of somebody, but I'll be like, I can't believe how people are so fixated about the royals. And then I'll go right into talking about, she went to school here and her dad lives right here. And it is fascinating.
It is. I mean, it's an interesting time, and I say good for her. People are. She's getting the worst of it. Like, why not pick on? Why they're always just picking on her? But I say good for her. It is a tough transition being an American and moving over to England.
Yeah,
it is. I couldn't imagine how isolated and just weird it feels because I feel that way. Even though I'm free and nobody cares who I am.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's just a weird... I thought it would be easier because we speak English. And, I've been to England a few times. I'm like, oh, it's not going to be that... It has been so difficult. I think Americans have more in common with Italians than they do English people, just because we're really expressive and blunt and emotional. And I'm not saying it's right or better, but it's just the way that it is. So... In England, it's very, I guess, repressed and polite and
villagey, like
just like I don't know. People are holding stuff in where we let it out immediately,
right?
And I sort of miss it.
I could see that.
Yeah.
And so you just to give everybody some background, you were on tour with your book. You met somebody over there who was a DJ at the station, and in 3 months you married him. Is that about it?
Yeah. You got it. Yeah. I was on a book tour and I met a guy who was a presenter at BBC and he interviewed me. Like I did this 10-minute interview and then we just started texting, calling, visiting each other, and then within, I think it was 6 months, I had moved over there and married him. It was nuts.
It's so nuts. So the
bonkers.
thing is you got another taste of things because you had many life events happening at the same time. You know, you had a move, you had going to a different culture, you had the relationship and the marriage, then you had the loss of your own family, then you had a loss of job. Am I bringing you down?
Oh my God.
No, I'm
you
just
get
saying,
it though. I'm like, are
a
you?
lot of things happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't just marrying him.
Oh God, no. I mean, it was as if I was airdropped by choice. I'm not like a victim of this situation, but I felt like I was airdropped into the forest in England, and everything I ever knew was gone.
What's the name of the town?
Well, it's called Tunbridge Wells, Royal Tunbridge Wells, and it's not super small. It's not village is like an exaggeration. It's a city, I guess, a town, but there's not much culture there. It's great if you have kids, and but it's
you don't.
No. I want to get out of there.
Where do you want to live?
I don't know. Sometimes I want to come back to the States, but I really do want to make it work over there. It's just tough. And London's not too far away. It's a
How far?
45-minute train ride, about 20 miles, but 45 on the train. So it's easy to get there, but it's still like a day trip.
Sure.
If you
have to plan out a whole thing.
Yeah,
it's not like you're running down the street.
Exactly. So
it's like living in Valencia. Oh yeah, sure, you're close to Hollywood. You ain't going to Hollywood.
Yeah.
You get home and we're done.
Exactly.
And in England, it's raining.
It's freezing. Windy, rainy, gray for months at a time. Oh,
How often do you see the sun?
Like 5 times a year. No, the summers are actually pretty beautiful.
Quite nice, really.
It's quite nice. It's gorgeous.
Oh God, you haven't picked up any accent. So, what does your husband think about coming over here at some point? I mean, in terms of dividing time and all that.
We've talked a lot about it. I think he's up for it, but
he'd do great.
I think he would too, but he's more hesitant. And I've always, my entire life, I've been like, yeah, I'll try it. Sure. I moved to New York when I was 20. I just pack up and go. I pretty much, but not everyone's like that. And I sort of respect that he's more measured and responsible.
And he has a good job.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. It's pure shit. No. He is back on the radio at BBC, and he does some speaking gigs, but nothing real consistent anymore. But so anyway, we're talking about it.
What are you doing over there for work?
Nothing. I have freelance stuff.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, and I've produced a storytelling show, and I'm back in LA trying to sell shows, and so I'm back in the mix, but it's different, It's not like I'm running it. Like I ran into you the other night, and you're like, "Oh, come do my podcast." Stuff like that happens all the time in LA. In England, there's no momentum of anything.
I see. Yeah.
You don't. It's difficult.
No, I understand. British culture is slower paced for sure.
Yeah, I mean, in London, I'm sure the art scene and the comedy scene is amazing and just loud personalities and stuff, but it is it's just mellow and calm, and I miss the adrenaline.
Yeah. Well, that's not everywhere, as you know. In America, that's Los Angeles.
Yeah. And New York.
Yeah.
I like big cities.
And New York, yeah, for sure. Well, anyway, I'm happy that I ran into you. I'm happy I ran into you over at Story Smash. That was really fun that you came.
Such a fun show.
Such a laugh. And I'm super glad you came back on the podcast. So I can't wait to hear your story about volunteering, because that is always like when people are down or they're low or they're depressed or, they need something to do, I always recommend volunteering.
Yeah.
So now I'm worried because I would say volunteer, but it sounds like you have, and maybe it didn't work out. So I hope it works out. I'm anxious to hear it. But before we get over to Amber's story, I wanted to remind you guys to follow me on the social medias. You know that. And, I'm not even going to talk about it. We're done. But here's one thing I do want you to do, and then I do it. I do want you guys to follow me on Instagram on Story Smash. That's the key, because that's where I have all the pictures of the shows, of course.
I just liked a bunch of them that you posted.
It's such a laugh. Yeah, it's super funny. So go over there, you guys. Follow me there. And that's all I'm going to ask you to do. All right. Okay, you guys, she's here right now, Amber Tozer. She's a writer and an author. You used to write on the animated series for Mad TV. And so do you miss that?
I do. I sort of miss being a part of a writer's room and going to an office every day and being part of that. But most of my writing has been an isolated experience. You know, the book, I was alone. All the TV pitches I write, it can be very isolating. So I do hope to like be a part of a group again.
Yeah, well, you know, you wrote your book, Sober Stick Figure, which was about getting to sobriety. Mm-hmm. And so that obviously is your own story.
Yep.
But you do write fiction as well.
Yeah, sometimes.
Now that you have more time because you're in England.
Yeah, I should. You know, I should take more advantage of my situation.
Yeah.
But
well, your tweets are very funny.
Thanks.
You know, compile those together.
There we go.
Boom, boom, boom. You guys should follow Amber over there on Twitter at Amber Tozer, and then also on Instagram because, you know, for whatever reason, we're required to do both. No, that's not true. I like Twitter a lot more because I like words and I like wordplay. Pictures, I'm not quite as visual.
Yeah, I like figuring out. Twitter's like a puzzle.
Yeah,
like a riddle. And Instagram's fun, but I prefer Twitter as well.
And Twitter also, it depends on who you follow. Like, you don't follow somebody who doesn't have something to say.
Right.
So, you know, depending on who you follow, you can really curate a really good feed, as it were. Anyway, you guys, wherever you are, she's here right now. Put your hands together for Amber Tozer. Yay.
Okay, so this happened last year. Yeah, so I've been in England for a while, right? A couple of years, and I'm bored. I'm losing my mind. And a friend of mine she's this really sweet woman. She's the governor of this school in my town. And she's really sweet, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so bored. I need something to do. She's like, why don't you volunteer at the school that I work for? It's for, you know, troubled teens, you know, special needs. Some of them have autism. Some of them have just behavioral issues. Some of them come from broken homes. Some of them, there's a wide spectrum. But basically, this school is the last stop for these kids because they've been kicked out of every other school. You know, people don't know what to do with them, so they end up here. And I'm like, all right, yeah, sure, I'll volunteer. So I show up, and they match me up with the music teacher. I'll call him Nick. And Nick, I don't know, I think he's in his early 40s, and I think he's a burnt out musician, but now he just wants to help the kids. You know, he's like super cool. And he's great. The kids love him, but I think he wants to be loved by the kids more than he wants to teach them. Because the kids will be like, yo, Nick, I brought a knife to school. And he's like, yeah, knuckle taps. You know, instead of being like, so he's a little too cool. But I really liked working with him. And one day, and just to give you a sense of the school, these kids, they're great, but it's unbelievable. I walked into the classroom on the first day, and this kid goes, he's like, get the fuck out of here. You're old. And I was like, oh, this is the most exciting thing that's happened to me in England. I love it here. I love it. So I'm really into this crazy school. But Nick one day invites me to a music show that's happening in the town next to us. I don't want to give away names and be too specific because I don't know, you know, whatever. So this posh town next to us with this posh school, like this is the school in Kent to go to. It costs, it's a high school essentially, but it costs like $60,000 to go to. It's super expensive. It's private. It's really fancy. And he says, well, a few of our boys from music class have been invited to play along in this music program. They're going to play the African drums in a couple of songs. And if you want to go, it's happening tonight. And I was like, yeah, I'll be there. I'm not doing anything else. So I go to this super posh school, and the campus is beautiful. It's like an Ivy League American school. I mean, the buildings are beautiful. There's a huge soccer field or football pitch. It's amazing. And so the show is happening in this chapel, this beautiful chapel. And it's a sort of a long, thin building. And the stage, quote unquote stage, is at the end of it. And so to get up to the stage, you have to walk through this long path, and the pews are lined up alongside of it. And there's hundreds of parents and like rich white families, and all these kids are in uniforms, and our boys, there's like 6 of our kids from our school, and their hair's messed up, there's like stains on their pants, their shoes are untied, they're just this ragtag group of high school boys, and we're all sitting in the back. And so I sit down and I look at the program, and the show is about 2 hours long, and we are the second to last performers. And so we're sitting there, and it's like the show starts, and they're playing classical music. Like they're playing the violins and the flutes, and I'm like, this shit is fucking boring. And I look over at the boy, I'm like, how are they gonna sit here for? There's no way these kids are gonna last. And I look over, and they're doing fine. And then I get mad at myself for judging them. You know, I'm like, give them a chance, Amber. You know, I'm just like in my own head beating myself up for judging them. But sure enough, like 15, 20 minutes in, they start kicking off. These boys are hitting each other. They're making fart noises. They just start losing their minds. So they're being really disruptive. So Nick takes them outside. So I just stay in, and I'm like, all right, good. They're going to go get some fresh air. And so I continue to watch this really boring music show. I mean, these kids, I'm like, what are you doing? You flute players, violin, and it's classical. It's like, and they're good, you know? And I'm like, oh man. So then all of a sudden, one of the kids, Shane, I'll call him Shane, he runs in, and he's like, Amber, Tyler just ran away. We don't know where he is. We need your help. And I'm like, what? So I run outside, and Nick's like, Tyler ran away. We have no idea where he is. And then he's like, so I sent 2 other kids to go find him. I'm like, what? Nick, now 3 kids are missing? So kids are missing. The show continues. We're outside trying to find these kids. And luckily, the 2 boys that were sent came back, and they're like, we can't find Tyler. We don't know where he is. So now Tyler's just gone. So the clock is ticking, you know, and a couple other people from the school are there. The headmaster's there, and he's like, I gotta call the cops, because he's been missing for quite a while now. This is a safety issue. We got to call the police. And just as he's getting ready to call the police, a parent comes out of the chapel completely unaware of what's happening, and he's like, isn't it a lovely night? Isn't this show just brilliant? Without skipping the beat, the headmaster, who's about to call the cops, is like, yes, it's a great night. Lovely, brilliant, lovely. And I'm like, that sums up England in a moment, because if that was an American exchange and the parent came out, the headmaster would have, or the principal would have been like, oh, this is fucking crazy. We lost a kid. We're calling the cops. You know, there would have just been like this honest emotion coming up. But anyway, everyone's pretending it's fine. So that, I don't know, I just started cracking up, because I was like, oh my God, nobody's honest around here. So he's getting ready to call the cops, and just then Tyler pops out from behind a bush, and he's like, I'm here, it's fine, I'm back, I'm here. And so we're like, oh, thank God, where'd you go? Because we gotta perform. We gotta be on stage soon. And he's like, oh, I just went to the high street. This show's boring. I don't want to fucking be here. This place sucks. And so Tyler is like, I'm not performing. And a couple of the other kids start to get nervous, because they're like, Tyler's one of the best drummers. We need him in the show. And pretty soon, we are next on stage. Like, we are the next act. And Nick starts to get weird. He's like, yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to do it. I'm like, he's like, I think we have to pull out of the show. And I'm like, Nick. I'm like, you got to set it. I turned into Tony Robbins. I was like, you got to get in there, and you got to set an example. You know, you need to be solid right now. These kids need to perform. He's like, I don't know. I don't think we can do it. This is crazy. I don't think we should have. And then all of a sudden, Tyler goes, I'll do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be in the show. And all the kids are like, yeah, let's do it. So now it's on, you know, they are up, and they slowly walk up to the stage. They join like 10 other posh kids. They get behind the African drums, and they nail it. They play 2 songs, And these kids are so talented. They are so good. And I'm sitting in the back and I'm like, this is amazing. And none of these parents, nobody knows just what happened. Nobody knows the shit show that happened moments before. And I look over at the headmaster and he is just beaming. I start crying. They played 2 beautiful songs. And as they're walking back, I am losing my mind. I'm like, yes! Everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy. But I am losing my mind with joy for these boys. They are so happy. They nailed it. And there's one last song after this. So we all go outside and we are just hugging and high-fiving. And it is just the most beautiful thing ever. So, I don't know. That's the most exciting thing that happened to me in England. But I just thought it was like a classic underdog story. And it's just, one of the most exciting and beautiful things that I've experienced since I've been over there.
I think that is so beautiful.
Oh.
I mean, maybe you were meant to be like a mentor, a teacher. You know what I mean? It sounds like maybe you're meant for that.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well,
I
think those are the endorphins that kick in if you realize you did something that was, something that you do well and it got completed and you taught somebody something, right?
Yeah, but I didn't feel like I did anything there. I just was like there.
Yeah, but your presence and you helped them and you helped Nick. I mean, if you weren't there, he wouldn't have gotten it together.
Yeah, I don't know. What
What did that kid Tyler say?
Well, Tyler's pretty autistic. He's pretty, impacted by autism, even though he's verbal he just was happy after.
Yeah.
But it just took him a while.
So they don't have one-on-one helpers, as it were?
Some do, but from what I experienced volunteering there, but I'm only in the music class, so I'm not, I'm not with them in math and science and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's just an amazing school that sort of is like, yeah, we'll help you out the best we can.
That's amazing. So are you going to do more of it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I first got sober, I started working with kids with special needs. So I sort of took a break from stand-up and comedy just because, I was like...
to fill your soul again.
Well, yeah. I'm like, I need to be in a position where I don't demand positive feedback.
Well, it really feels good to give back. And, it just gives you a really special feeling, for sure. Hang on one second. What is that? What's somebody?
I think a garbage truck is going in reverse.
Hold on one second. So what's the difference between a governor and a headmaster? What are those?
The governor's more like somebody's on like the school board. So they're not there on a daily basis.
Oh, they're not in the school.
No, they go in, but they're on the board and they help make decisions, where the headmaster's more like a principal who's there every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that, obviously kids in arts, that always works in terms of, getting them to, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's because my daughter goes to an art school, and I just feel like it's such a way to, bond kids together. I don't know if you ever did musical theater, all that little stuff at schools is very, to me, it's so much more beneficial than sports. I mean, if you have to choose, if you could do both,
Right.
I guess that's best.
Well, I think it depends on what you're into as a kid.
I know, but even if, let's say, you're not into musical theater, or you're not into performing African drums, or you're not into going to chorus or music class, if you try it, you might be surprised.
Right.
I mean, music is just this thread that some people aren't connected to, but if you give them a little boost, help them connect, then they'll have it, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, Nick does so well because the kids love music. Like when in between classes, they go and they sit at the piano, or they just go
That's
and
the
mess
best.
around on the drums, and it's just the safe, really cool place for them to hang out.
And it's productive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's productive. At the talent show, it was reminding me about that movie About a Boy with Hugh Grant.
Oh, yes. I haven't seen that for ages.
Such a great movie. It's still a good movie. It
Yeah.
holds up.
And it sort of reminds me of Sing Street. Did you see Sing Street?
No,
It's about a band of misfits that joined. I think it was in England. Yeah, it was based in England, but a bunch of teenage boys just sort of form a band. You should watch it. It's really,
I love that.
It's really cute.
I think that's adorable. And then now there's another show on called Schooled.
I haven't seen it.
There's another show on called Schooled. It's on after the Goldbergs on Wednesday nights. I'm saying this like, American television. And you're over there watching the telly and you're watching the football. Anyway, this show's Schooled. It's the same idea, though. That it's the schools, it's teachers, and there always is a touching moment. And sometimes I roll my eyes, but then I sometimes think like, well, I guess that is the way it is. And you just described it, like that kind of a moment where you do. It's almost like having an epiphany, like, oh, look at that. I can be touched.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's nice.
I know. And it's so funny. It's like that living over there is an innocence about England.
There really is.
As much as I complain about, being bored or, just not fitting in, there is something about the English culture where everyone, they might not be so like animated and upfront, but they are really loyal. I find like English people, once you get past whatever front they have, like they are just the loveliest. And I've made really, really, really good friends. It hasn't been super easy. Like in America, you could just all of a sudden become best friends with somebody that you met at the grocery store, but then like 2 days later you find out they're psycho.
Yeah.
you know,
that's very true.
You're like, oh my God, I met my soulmate, but then
I always say if you can get one friend a year, you're a rich person. And like I've lived in LA for 22 years and I have about 22 good friends. So we can add up, which is nice.
Right.
But I spent some time in England because I dated a guy over there from Southampton. And I do know what you mean in terms of their civility. And everything is brilliant. It's quite brilliant, really. Who's for tea? It's brilliant. Everything's brilliant. And
you can do a good accent.
Sometimes. I just couldn't get past the food was hard for me.
Yeah.
And the
weather,
the climate, because it's not just that it's cold and damp, but there's not that much daylight. It seems
it's brutal. It is brutal.
That's tough.
I think but for English people, that's all they know, so they just sort of carry on with it. But when you move there from California, that's because there's a better way.
I know what you mean. No, I do. I know what you mean because when I go back to Pittsburgh, my brother always says, honey, you see this weather? We choose it. I said, yeah, you do, Scotty. And I don't know what's wrong with you. Anyway, let me talk to your husband and maybe we can,
Oh, you should have him on. He's a great
have him on and talk him into coming over here to California.
We'll have. He's got a really. He's worth it. As much as I complain, but the reason why I do is because he's a really, really good guy, and I think we'll find a proper compromise as far as geography goes. So,
and now that you're using words like proper, I think you might be right. No, it's very, very beautiful and it's romantic, and I still think of your wedding pictures because you wore red shoes. Weren't you wearing red shoes? Am I crazy?
No, I had a red shawl.
A red shawl.
But in like a maroonish... Well, which one? Because we had two. We had one in England.
The one in England where like, you're on the ground and like...
Oh, yeah. I had... I wore boots and high heels because we had to walk a lot, so I put on boots. But I think you're thinking of the red shawl because there was red.
You just were so cute.
Oh
my goodness!
Thanks.
It is such a romantic story, and you have made good friends over there, right?
Yes. After have
you had to learn to drink tea like 7 times a day?
I love it. I love tea.
Why do they drink so much tea?
I asked because it's so cold over there that you.
Oh, I see.
I don't know. I just think it's something to do. It's almost like, I guess we drink a lot of coffee over here. It's
That's
the same
true.
thing. You want to go have a cup of coffee, but it's the first thing that English people do. I think the first thing Americans do is talk. We talk about ourselves, or we're just like, meh. When you go over there, it's just like, let's have a cup of tea and pretend.
And decompress.
And we'll just, I don't know. I should
do you
some
have
research.
a gnome in your garden?
No.
That always seemed to be a thing. Is that true or not?
I don't know.
The things I remember. Do you go 10-pin bowling?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. 10 pin bowling?
10 pin.
Oh, 10-pin bowling. Is that just regular bowling?
It's bowling.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah,
over there
we've
they
been
call
bowling.
it 10-pin.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why.
I haven't heard that.
And what's up, like, can you get good pizza? I know these are all really
Not
stereotypical.
really.
But
No, it's
you get good Indian food.
good Indian food, great Thai food, great sushi, great French food.
Oh, that's good.
You can get a decent burger, pizza, Italian food, and Mexican food. Absolutely not.
Too bad.
Yeah, it is. It is a
Isn't that
shame.
funny? It seems so silly. If you have a tortilla and you have cheese,
They can't
and you
figure
have
it out.
salsa.
They cannot figure it out.
That is funny. Well, listen, I am so happy that I ran into you here in Los
Thanks for
Angeles.
having me over
And I'm
here.
just great. It's just really great to catch up and to know that you're doing well.
Yeah.
And you know you're always welcome to come back to the USA. We're here.
Thank you.
And sorry about, having, you probably have to explain the Trump thing, and that must be embarrassing as hell.
Well, now they have Boris, so it's like,
Yeah, true.
but it is amazing how they sort of will tread lightly about it, being like, do you like him? And I'm like, no, a lot of us don't. So I don't think they know who and what kind of people are into him and not. So that's
They
sort
can't
of
separate
fascinating.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, it's not hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, thank you so much for coming.
Sure, thanks
I
for
love you
having
to
me.
death. Yay.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, I want to thank you so much again for tuning in today. Make sure you find Amber over there on Twitter at Amber Tozer. You've got a lot of fans.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's fans or followers, but
Followers.
people love your Twitter feed. It's great.
Yeah, it's fun.
Good. And then follow me over there as well at Storyworthy. All right, you guys, one more time on behalf of the very talented Amber Tozer, tally ho.
Adios.
Adios. I'm happy to see you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Christine Blackburn saying, make it a story-worthy week.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy Podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at storyworthypodcast.com.
Your favorite band's about to play a sold-out show. You got in.
Over here!
With a friend. And found a spot close enough to see the set list. They're definitely playing your song. When you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it.
At Progressive, we know there's nothing like the feeling of riding a motorcycle with your crew on the open road. It's a primal, wild freedom. A feeling that would be impossible to recreate on the radio. Until now. Hit it, sound effects guy! No. We really lost our stride at the end there. Get 24/7 roadside assistance with Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Roadside assistance subject to policy terms and limits and may require comprehensive coverage.